Now I know that 2020 was a particularly difficult year to say the least, but there are always positives in the negatives, right? Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back folks, lovely to see you. So if you watched last week's vlog, you'll see that I was talking about New Year's resolutions and how I prefer to start the year with New Year reflections, which I think are even more important this year because after having an awful 2020, it's easy to think that everything's bad, but actually there is never any black and white. There is always good in amongst the bad and vice versa. So in today's vlog, I'm going to share the highlights from my year compass with you. So having a look back together on 2020, on the things we shared together, the achievements I made, the milestones I reached, and we can watch everything back and relive it all. But before we get stuck in, for anyone who is new, a very, very big welcome. My name is Finn, and here on this channel, I share my life in recovery as a transgender gay man. So you'll find lots of really inspiring, first-hand, informative posts on gender transition, mental well-being, and LGBT life. So if you've been hanging around for a while and you haven't yet subscribed, I'd love it if you would, because it really does help to support my channel. And it's easy to do. You just hit the big red button that's below this video. And if you fancy supporting my channel and getting extra perks, you can also check out the join button too. So January 2020 started out like any other year. You wouldn't have known the chaos that was gonna ensue, would you really? So Chris and I started our New Year's Day at Eastbourne Bandstand with the old people doing a New Year's Day conga. Cheese-tastic. 2020 last year also started with some incredible news. I'd put in a proposal to Jessica Kingsley Publishers for my phalloplasty memoir, and in January 2020 I announced to you all that that proposal had been accepted and I'd been offered a book deal for my phalloplasty memoir. Oh my actual god, in 2020 I'm going to be a published author. One very excited, happy Finn. If you've been following all of my updates about the book on here on my channel, on my website and on my newsletter, and if you aren't subscribed to my newsletter, I'll put a link below because there's lots of exclusives there. And if you are already a newsletter subscriber, you will know that this is what the cover looks like. So exciting. It's due for release in April 2021 this year, and pre-orders have just become available, which is so incredibly exciting. And if you are a member of one of my membership clubs, either the Flock Club or the Coffee Club, then there is also an exclusive video for you where I read a little tiny bit of one of the chapters of the book. So that's a huge perk of joining my membership clubs. And I'll put a link to that below as well. January was also snooker time for me, which is a massive highlight of my year. It's a real highlight for me for two reasons really. One, it reminds me of how much I'm loved, because two very dear friends buy me tickets every year for my birthday. My birthday's in February. And it's a time where, I'm really reminded of how much love I have in my life, and going through the year compass and picking out moments like that where, it's just so clear I've got some amazing friends. And the other reason that the snooker's a highlight for me is, of course, I love snooker, which surprises people because it's probably the most manly thing about me. But it also serves as a reminder of just how much better I manage my mental health. Because at one point, I wouldn't have even been able to travel to London on my own, whereas now I can travel to London and stay in an Airbnb on my own, despite having mental health challenges, So it's always a really lovely reminder of how much more independent I am and how much more able I am to manage my fluctuating mood and anxiety. February was going to be a really difficult month because it marked a year since we lost Mum. And firsts are always incredibly, incredibly hard when we lose people. The first Christmas was hard, and the first anniversary of her passing was going to be hard as well. And I'd pretty much written off my birthday. I didn't really want to do anything. But this was another highlight of my year because Chris blindfolded me. I gave him permission, of course. Not that I was particularly keen on this idea, but he clearly had something planned, so I let him blindfold me, and we went in the car and he unblindfolded me at my best friend's house, my best friend from school, Claire, who we've been friends for decades now, and the two of them took me to Brighton for the day, and we went to the Upside Down house. We had such a giggle, and I hadn't really expected to be laughing on my birthday at all, and I laughed myself so silly I had a headache from it. And again, it was just a really lovely reminder of how blessed I am to have people in my life that love me enough to do that for me. You know, I love Chris, and he's just so supportive, and my best friend is just so supportive, and you know, even my being trans has never been an issue for my best friend. She's just accepted me as I am, and she always makes me giggle, so that was definitely another highlight. March marked some new things in my business adventures. As a content creator, I am always trying to look for ways to make income. In making this my full-time business, there's been lots of different revenue streams I've been trying to bring in income. And in the beginning of the year in 2020, I was given access to YouTube memberships. This is something that YouTube had been rolling out to a few channels. I was quite surprised to get it. And I ummed and ahed about it, whether I should start memberships or not. But in March, I decided to bite the bullet and launched it. And within a couple of weeks, we were at 20 members. And I was absolutely blown away. From the initial perks that started, there's been lots of different experiments. We've had some Zoom meets. We have a Discord server now. And it's very much organic and growing, and we're growing it together, which is exciting. I've also continued to keep my Ko-fi page, and there's so many people that give me donations there. I also introduced the option of monthly subscriptions on Ko-fi as well, and now I'm merging those two memberships. Flock members do get a bit more just because of the platform difference, but essentially both people get access to exclusive videos and Discord and all of that, so it's been a really lovely new evolution of business. And then, of course, in March, the coronavirus arrived in the UK.
And finally, you can travel to and from work, but only where absolutely necessary.
Yes, and everything went a bit bonkers. People started panic buying. So Christopher and I are sensibly going shopping because of this whole coronavirus thing, and thought we'd get a few things to stock up. But it is getting bad, isn't it? We've got like now, look, one lot of toilet roll, that's it. So Chris will be using your old socks.
They've got holes in.
Loo rolls were in dire need. It was just this utter panic for toilet rolls. And it was bonkers. It just felt so surreal when it all started. It was just like, this isn't really going to happen. And then it was like, oh, it'll be a couple of weeks and we'll turn it around. And now here we are a year later. And it's worse than ever. Now, of course, the coronavirus arriving in the UK was not a highlight. The reason I'm including it in my personal highlights of the year is to demonstrate exactly what I talk about all the time. That with every negative, there is a positive. And although it has been really hard, lots of really amazing things have come out of this virus. I have learnt how much of a team me and Chris really are. You know, we work so well together, and that was made apparent when, you know, we were stuck in lockdown together. It's really made me see how solid my mental health tools are, even when I'm still struggling. You know, the fact that I know how to look after myself in healthy ways now, that really brought that home. It really brought home how resilient I am, and it brought home how versatile I am, and I can change and adapt, and those are the positive things. And there are also some more positive things that came out of it that I'll talk about as we move on. In April, I celebrated 7 years on testosterone, which is just bonkers in itself. Even more bonkers than the coronavirus. Even at 7 years on testosterone, It is still incredible for me to look back at old photos and see the changes I've made from then to now. The changes, of course, are not as significant as they once were, but there are certain things I notice when I do these videos of changes that I might not otherwise have noticed had I not done the videos. Like, for example, yes, my beard's great now, but my tash still has not got the memo. May was a lovely month because Chris and I celebrated 2 years together. Hey, sexy.
Yeah.
How's your Spanish? Can you say what day it is today in Spanish?
No, because I haven't done days yet.
Yeah, but I know, but what day is it, Chris?
Sunday.
Yeah, but...
It's Sunday.
Oh, babe!
I don't know.
Guess what day it is?
Bon anniversary.
Thanks, babe.
That'd be a bit of French.
We always laugh because it feels like me and Chris have been together forever. It's a lovely feeling. We always kind of joke together that it's been 84 years. Because he's just my best friend. He's my soulmate. And, you know, it's just unbelievable that we celebrate 2 years and we both go, 2 years, is that all? Haven't we been together forever? So, yeah. And to celebrate our 2 years, we finally got round to doing a video together. Do they have an app for that? Oh, dear.
None of this pumping it up business. Imagine if you had an app.
From the beginning, he was like, "Oh, I don't want to do the YouTube stuff," and then since then, I've been
Now
gradually.
I'm like,
yeah, oh yeah. I love you. Happy anniversary,
Happy
babes.
anniversary.
In June, despite our Prime Minister Boris Johnson being so convinced that we were going to beat this virus, it was still very much raging, and unfortunately, because Chris has some health issues concerning his asthma and his lungs, he was put into shielding. And for anybody who's watching from overseas, shielding basically means put into quarantine. You're identified as being extremely vulnerable and at risk. So that means if Chris got the coronavirus, he would likely need to be ventilated. It would put him at higher risk of severe illness. So in that case, people in that category are told to stay at home. Even when lockdown measures are lifted, Chris had to stay at home. And again, not necessarily a highlight, but once again, it's finding those positives, isn't it? And as I said earlier, with this lockdown and with Chris being stuck at home and with me working at home already, having to adapt to a routine together was something that worried us both. But what we both learned is that we communicate really well, that we work so well as a team. And instantly, within a few days, we had worked out what we're going to do. We did some exercise together in the afternoon, went for walks in the evening where it was quieter, and we just worked around things. And it was fine. We didn't argue, and I feel really blessed that we were able to adapt like that. And actually our relationship thrived from it because we did realise just how much we really genuinely enjoy our company, each other's company. And I think lots of us are finding that it's these simple things actually that are really important. And of course you know that, but when like all the other stuff is taken away, you really find out what matters. And at the end of the day, things don't, people do. And this virus has really meant that you just don't take people for granted anymore. And that, for me, is definitely a highlight. And of course, we had a new addition to our family.
What's this? Come on.
As you can see, he's quite trained now. Yes, Jonathan Seagull arrived in our life. Now, he must have just known that Chris was at home and that we needed another friend in our life. This seagull initially became Chris's best friend, but eventually, if you can't beat them, you gotta join them. Yes, because it's completely normal to have a seagull in your kitchen. Christopher. August was a month of huge milestones that resulted in a string of video updates where Finn got very emotional. I celebrated 10 years in recovery, clean and sober. I graduated from the Open University and my penis had his 5-year birthday. Thanks for my beautiful flowers, babe.
And your card.
And your beautiful, and my beautiful card. So what's this for, Christopher?
So, just wanted you to know how proud I am of everything you've achieved in your life.
Thanks,
When
babes.
most people would have given up.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're trying to inspire, even if you just inspire one person, then that's all that matters, isn't it?
Bless you, Bubs.
Mm.
Is it also a present for my penis? Because it is my penis's double birthday, you know. Christopher. If you've watched my Open University updates, you've seen that I switched my very, very last module. So I was doing a psychology degree, so I did all psychology modules. And then because I was moving into writing, the very, very last module, I swapped to creative writing. So I opened up my degree, I changed it from a psychology degree to an open degree to take creative writing. And I was nervous that that might affect my overall degree classification. So most of you know that with COVID happening, I graduated a little bit early, but I was having to wait for my final degree and to see whether all of the issues around COVID had affected my degree. And I've received the news at last, and I'm really excited to tell you that I have graduated with a first degree honours. Oh my goodness, I was so incredibly chuffed. As you can see from the video, I just keep crying because it's just so significant to me. Once upon a time, I thought my mental health would stop me doing anything because it seemed to. But I learned that if I just did things differently, just because I've got mental health challenges doesn't have to mean I can't have success in my life and be happy, you know? So to actually get a degree after trying for so long and failing in Brit universities, this was an amazing moment. And what made it even more special was celebrating 10 years clean and sober at the same time. Emotional update on 10 years sober. But I am so grateful, so grateful. I love my second chance of life because that's what this is. 10 years ago in 2010, I got clean and sober and my life began. And I love it. So, yes, very emotional today, but the tears are tears of real gratitude. They really are. And Finn Jr. was pretty happy to turn 5 as well. Happy birthday to my penis. Yes, it's that time again. In September, I had another business development, and this is what I was talking about earlier, how the coronavirus has actually brought out more positives, because I have a problem with anxiety when it comes to using the telephone and using video calls. I find those two things very, very anxiety provoking. I'm much better at managing my anxiety face to face now. Telephones, if you ring me, I rarely pick up my phone. And if you ask me to do a face-to-face video call, I'd offer email instead. But with the pandemic, lots of things moved to Zoom. Our entire lives moved to Zoom. Well, because of the pandemic, I got a lot more comfortable on Zoom. And the more comfortable I got on Zoom, the more I was thinking, actually, I could use this. I've been giving advice online for years as part of what I do here and on my blog. You know, lots of people will message me and I'll email them back with links to support and generally talk through issues with people. And I realised that if I used Zoom, I could offer that as a face-to-face service. It would be another way of earning income for what I do, being compensated for a lot of the support work I do, and give people the option of having some support. Because the thing is, for trans people, other than gender clinics, there is very few places we can go to for genuine support, not necessarily counselling, but just support in going through all the changes and adapting, you know. And with the waiting lists, lots of people are alone. So I was like, bingo, I could do this. I could launch myself as a life coach and mentor, and then work with trans people initially to support people in coming out, navigating changes, coping with waiting times, making decisions about surgery, especially lower surgery. I was terrified at the idea of doing this, but it just was calling to me. So in September, I bit the bullet and I launched coaching and mentoring. It is my absolute honour to be your transgender mountain guide. As a transgender mountain guide, I will be able to point out the paths that are easier than others. I'll be able to sometimes just cheer you on from the top. and it will give me great joy to then stand at the very top with you. It's been amazing. I had so many inquiries, I was overwhelmed with inquiries, and I've worked with a number of people, and what's coming up a lot is lower surgery stuff, you know, helping people to make decisions, and I've been really enjoying that. I'm not going to talk too much about next plans here because that's for another video, but it has opened up to ideas for me going forward. So yes, it's a very positive thing to come out of the pandemic, that it's helped me to see new ways that I can work, that I can earn an income, and that I can fulfill what I love doing, which is helping and supporting people to navigate change and be the best version of themselves. So thanks, coronavirus, for something positive. In October, the nights were starting to draw in and it was starting to get cold and dark, and normally at that time of year, Chris and I would be booking a holiday to Spain, but with the coronavirus not going anywhere, that wasn't possible. So again, decided to make the most of it. We thought, well, we can't go abroad, so what should we do? Let's carry on caravanning. So yes, an hour up the road we booked a caravan. We didn't go far because we didn't want to. We still didn't want to risk too much interaction with other people. So we just booked a caravan, we went away for a week, and we just did lots of touring. We just did lots of walking along various coasts around Kent, giggling together and just having a lovely time. And it was just nice to have a break. And it didn't matter that it wasn't Spain at the end of the day, although I wouldn't turn a Spanish beach down right now. It was just a break from these four walls, which I know we're all sick of, and a chance to be somewhere different and have a bit of a giggle. Today we're in a shell grotto searching for a phallus.
Yeah.
November saw another transition milestone as I reached 7 years post-top surgery. So shall we see what my chest looks like now at 7 years post-op? Ta-da! Such a poser. My chest never gets old. I mean, the body it's on's getting old. Bits are sagging. I'm hairier than ever, and those patches of hair have no meaning. But do you know what? This chest is beautiful to me, and like everything else in my transition, I never take it for granted. Every time I do this, it's just an amazing feeling. When Chris puts his hand on my chest, it's an amazing feeling. Every time I'm just in my pants with no top on, it's an amazing feeling. It never gets old. That body joy is amazing. And then suddenly it was December, and I know lots of people feel the same way. We were like, hang on, we've not even had our summer because coronavirus has stolen it, and now it's winter, Christmas. I am not prepared for this. And of course, you all know that I am not a fan of Christmas at all. I made a video about that this year, being really open about this, because I keep trying to like Christmas and I just can't like it. But something happened this year at Christmas that's kind of changed my viewpoint. I'm sure you've all seen this now, and if you haven't, then that's a clear sign that you need to go and follow all of my social media, because I haven't shut up about this. Chris proposed! Why did it say fiancé?
Because Mr. Games.
It was the sweetest, beautifulest, perfectest proposal ever. You know, I don't know if I ever really did think about what the perfect proposal would be, but I think you tend to kind of think all whistles and bells and make this big deal of it. But actually, what Chris did was just perfect. I'll link it again in case anyone has missed it, but honestly, it was just so unexpected. Oh, it was just amazing, and I love him more than I've ever thought possible to love anyone. And to spend the rest of my life with my best friend, soulmate and lover is just amazing. Obviously, we're not getting married anytime soon because Corona. But it'll be likely 22 or 23, and of course we will be sharing all of our wedding planning, and we will be asking you all to share that with us.
Don't worry, Doc, because it'll be some cheap vicar and everybody back to Wetherspoons for 2 for £10.
So as you can see, while there's no doubt that 2020 was a hugely difficult year with the pandemic, lots of really, really amazing stuff has happened as well. Loads of incredible milestones, loads of achievements, loads of lovely magical moments. And as I say, as long as we look hard enough, we can see these things. It's so easy when stuff is bad to just focus on that and forget all these things. So really taking time to reflect and pull out all these lovely things from a year is so good for our mental health. Thanks so much for watching, folks. I hope you've enjoyed reliving 2020 with me. It's been really, really fun to put this together. And thank you very much for all of your support through 2020. You are always in my gratitude list every single year. But in 2020 especially, I've been really grateful for having this, for the interaction we have together, for sharing my life with you, and for you all sharing back with me, whether it's in the comments or in our membership clubs. Having you all travel with me is something that I'm incredibly grateful for. So thank you all very much. Take care of yourselves, folks. Remember, it's progress, not perfection. See you next week.